We're finally here. The most exciting series in basketball, the NBA Finals, is ready to take shape between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. So today on the Board YouTube channel, I'm going to be previewing what you can expect from that matchup, and along the way, provide my best bets for you to make and get some action ahead of the end of the NBA season. Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into our preview of the NBA Finals here on the Board YouTube channel. Make sure if you're enjoying along the way, you drop a like and consider subscribing for more NBA playoff content like this, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of our videos. As you can see, my co-host Pips NBA is not available for this one. He's on vacation. We're letting him enjoy that one today. He should be back tomorrow for our Game 1 preview. Before this series preview, what to expect from the entire series, I'm here. I'm the host to help you out along with the process. The Denver Nuggets, the 1 seed, have come out of the Western Conference, and they are taking on, to our big surprise, the 8 seed Miami Heat, who took down the 2 favorites to win the NBA championship pre-playoffs along the way to get here. So they took down the Bucks in 5. They took down the Celtics in 7. It could have been 4, 5, or 6, but they took them down in 7. Are they able to replicate that and beat the Denver Nuggets in this series? First of all, let's take a look from a betting perspective, what we see as far as the numbers go for this series. So I will say I've been really in tune with this one. I have a huge interest in this series, so I've been following the numbers in this one. And they actually started posting lines for this one halfway through the fourth quarter of Game 7. It got that out of hand. But going across what we see from a wide array of books on this one, we can see that Denver are extremely favored here, and I would say rightfully so. Looking at DraftKings, we'll also be looking at Pinnacle and FanDuel along the way here. They have Denver Nuggets to win the NBA Finals at minus 400. The Miami Heat are around 310 to win this series. If we go a little bit further along in this one to go to Pinnacle, we have the Denver Nuggets at minus 435. So much different on the odds over there. And if we go all the way to FanDuel, I don't have it up right now. If we go over to FanDuel, we have the Denver Nuggets in this series at minus 480. So, of course, the Denver Nuggets are the big favorites here. They are the 1 seed in the Western Conference, but they weren't the favorites to win the NBA championship along the way. That was, again, the Milwaukee Bucks. And second place in that one was the Boston Celtics. So why are we seeing Denver favored more over the Miami Heat than necessarily we saw from the Boston Celtics? And it's probably sort of similar to what we saw from that Milwaukee Bucks series. When we've seen Miami are here, they've beaten some big teams along the way. Why are we not seeing them in the same sort of stratosphere as Denver at all in this one? Well, what's crazy is that on openers, Miami were around plus 250 here. Denver were around minus 350, minus 360, minus 370. There was actually a sneaky minus 334 that I was able to scope out on Betway and get that one in pretty close to right after the Game 7 finished. I was expecting after Game 7, Miami to take on a little bit more money as we got closer to the NBA Finals, but that was not the case. I was planning on waiting and getting to this point and maybe even getting to tomorrow before actually betting on the finals. But it really looked as though Denver were going to pick up money based on how the market was being manipulated by some sharp bettors. And I jumped on the Denver Nuggets at that price. Also jumping on the series price of minus 150. The series spread of minus 1.5, which was minus 1. I got actually minus 145 at BetMGM. Right now, for the series prices, as we pull up FanDuel to reveal, it is sitting at minus 184. Obviously, you can scope around on the different prices. I'll let you guys know at the end of the video what I would play this up to. But Denver are taking on money in this series. Why are they taking on money in this series? Well, along the way in the playoffs, Miami have been impressive. But I think we started to see some cracks within the Miami system, the foundation, in the games 4, 5, and 6, which obviously they lost to the Boston Celtics. Now, they had the overwhelming win in Game 7, but looking at this Denver team, they were even more impressive on their way to getting to the NBA Finals. Like, they handled the favorites to come out of the West and the Phoenix Suns. They handled the Lakers in 4 games in the conference finals. Now, again, those games are really close, but Denver have the additional rest on their side. Denver are also the home seed in this finals, which is huge for them because if Boston won, Boston would be the home seed for the NBA Finals here with a better record going into the finals. So Denver with the home court advantage, Denver imposing their will on teams throughout the playoffs so far, they are rightfully favored in this one. And I'm not surprised that they have taken on this additional money. So why can Denver be a little bit more dominant than necessarily the Celtics were on the way to get to this position? Well, I think first of all, for the Denver Nuggets, what is a little bit of a separation for them is that they have been able to dictate the pace and the way each game has been played over the course of the playoffs, at least most of the games over the course of the playoffs, particularly in that Lakers series. Like, even though the Lakers were close, felt as though Denver were in control. I know they won in 4 games. Obviously, they were in control, but they never had to really sweat and claw at the Lakers and make those adjustments that I thought that other teams had to do, particularly the Heat as they got through the season against Celtics. Denver, for me, never really got out of second gear. They were comfortable. They managed themselves really well over the course of that series. And a big reason for that is that they consistently had the best player on the floor. In the playoffs, I don't think wherever we are, no matter who the matchup was, Jokic was likely going to be the best player on the floor. And for the first time for Miami, Jimmy Butler, very unlikely he's going to be the best player on the floor. Had the ability to do it against the Celtics, and he was. He was the best player over Tatum, best player over Brown. Questions if he was the best player over Caleb Martin, but in my opinion, he was. In the first series, we've seen him do some amazing things against the Bucks before. Obviously, it was unexpected that he'd be better than Giannis, but I see it even more unlikely that he's going to be better than Jokic in this series. So Jokic will be dominating this series, and the amount of shooters that the Denver Nuggets possess, there's so many people to kick out to. Not sure Miami have enough to throw at this Denver team to get themselves over the line and win 4 games in this series and have to win at least one of those games in Denver. Like Boston, like obviously Miami snuck 3 games out of TD Garden. Boston over the last 2 years, even though they've gotten to a game 7 in the conference finals and a game 6 of the finals in the last 2 years, they have so struggled to win games at home over the course of the last 2 years. So it's not, I mean, it is crazy to see how much of underdogs Miami were to win 3 games on the road, but I don't see that being something that will be able to replicate. They will be able to replicate as they get towards the NBA Finals. And Denver, I mean, the home court that Denver have with the altitude, like Denver are consistently one of the very best home teams in the entire NBA. So I think that Denver will be able to dominate this one from a home court perspective, and I think they have enough to handle Miami in games on the road. Personally, I like Denver in 5 in this series. They're just far the superior team. I say that I didn't say that against the Knicks, but I said that against the Celtics. I said that against the Bucks for the Heat, that they shouldn't be involved, and they consistently were. But I think Denver are just a little bit of a different beast here. Consistent 7-man group that they can go to. They go to Christian Brown on the bench as well as the 8th man. There's a little bit of faith in him as well, but there's a consistent group of 7 that they can go to consistently. Miami don't quite have that. They have not played against a team as deep with the depth that Denver possessed. The shooting that Denver can use on the outside consistently, something Boston weren't able to take advantage of. Because if Boston can hit their threes in game 6 and 7, they still somehow won game 6. But if they could hit their threes in game 7, they win that game still because they were controlling the pace, especially early on. They couldn't hit their open threes. This is just not going to be a problem for the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. If you're overhelping on Jokic, he has guys to kick out to. Obviously you can help off a little bit when it comes to Aaron Gordon, but still teams have done that. They haven't been able to find success. Aaron Gordon has just been able to do enough from an interior scoring standpoint. They also can bring Aaron Gordon out into the screener role so that you have to follow him and create a little bit of extra space for those shooters on the outside. But from what Miami can do offensively, Caleb Martin's been excellent. I mean, they've had all these excellent players, of course, but they haven't played a team as well structured, as well built, and as well coached as this Denver Nuggets team. Joe Mazzulla, rookie head coach, he had his issues in that series. They really showcased themselves. First round against the Bucks, Mike Budenholzer, he got fired for the way he coached in that series. He lost his job, and I just don't think that the Miami Heat will be able to exploit that as they did in others. Eric Spoelstra is the better coach in this series, but Denver have a lot of cards that they have not played still, and I think that they'll be able, with the additional rest, with the ability to play at home, with the better player, the best player in this series, the shooting, the defense, the matchups they can throw. You can put Aaron Gordon on Jimmy Butler. Nikola Jokic can be on Bam Adebayo, and his defensive load isn't going to be crazy because Bam has struggled so mightily offensively in the Celtics series and in playoffs past. Like, you question his ability to lead a team from an offensive standpoint in any capacity, even with being second fiddle Jimmy Butler or even third fiddle to Caleb Martin. We've seen, I'm not going to say Miami's offense isn't sustainable. I think it is, but Miami, they're at their best when the game is slow paced. It's slow and they can manage it. And Boston played into that. Miami wanted it slow, and Boston let them play it slow. Denver are not going to let that happen. Denver are going to dictate the pace of this series. And if they push the ball fast, Miami are going to mightily, mightily struggle to keep up. So, from a betting perspective, what numbers do we need to get here to bet on each team? So, from a Denver perspective, if you're looking to bet on Denver, as I have, I feel really confident about Denver. You're taking a lot of juice here. I understand, but I feel very strongly about Denver. I think minus 450 is what they should be priced at in this series. For that reason, I don't know if it's still out there. Maybe things change in the next day or so. If Miami take money in the next 24 hours or a little bit extra than that before we get to that game one. I think Denver, if you can find them in the minus 350 range, I'd say minus 350 is probably the highest I'd go. I think that's worth taking here. Shop around your books. Can't give out anything official because I haven't quite seen that anywhere, but you can find Denver in the minus 350 range. That's where I'd go. If you're looking at the series spread on this one, minus 150 is where I'd feel comfortable taking this one. Denver in the minus 1.5 on the series. So to win the game, in 6 games or less. Like I said, I like them in 5. You want to avoid the juice. You can take plus money in that one. Maybe if you can find like a plus 135, plus 140, that could also make a little bit of extra sense to you. Those are the numbers I would take from a Denver perspective. From a Miami perspective, if we're getting in the range, if we get to the range of we're finding Miami close to 4 plus 400, I think that's only where I would start to want to take the Miami Heat. But up until that point, I don't feel as strongly over there. As I'm talking, though, able to say that there is a 350 out there. So this is a play that I would lock in. I've already got my price down on this one, but Betway has come through on this one. So you can actually get Denver still at minus 350 on Betway. Look, everybody has different risk tolerances. I understand that. Minus 350, like I see this series being minus 450 for Denver. Minus 350 is a price that I'd be willing to take. Series spread, not sure if that one's out there, but that's what I'm playing. You can always track my bets publicly on my handle here. You see at the bottom of the screen if you're watching or if you're listening in audio form, it's at Jacob_Gramegna. These are the plays I'm taking. So I have locked in and would lock in at that price as well. Minus 350 on the Denver Nuggets. If you can find a minus 150 on the series spread, that is also something that I would be willing to lock in for this series. I think Denver are the better team here. Some people like to look for additional quote unquote value by playing a finals MVP. So you can take Jokic on finals MVP to get a bit of a better price in Denver. I'm seeing Jokic in the 300 range, 300, 325. I don't think it's worth taking that. I don't think you're getting better value out of that position. Better price doesn't mean better value. Like we even saw with that Heat series, Caleb Martin out of nowhere almost snuck in and took that conference finals MVP. Listen, everybody has the right to make their own decisions. Personally, I don't think additional value is there in taking the lesser price to get Jokic. I think you're better off just taking the Nuggets in this series. That will wrap it up for me from the NBA Finals Series preview. Tune in tomorrow for our Game 1 preview. Pips should be back from that, taking a little bit of time out of vacation to preview that Game 1. If you guys got value out of this episode, out of this show, please make sure you hit that like button. Take a minute to rate and review 5 stars if you're listening in audio form. Subscribe and follow the board channels here. We have tons of NBA playoff content coming for the rest of the playoffs. We go through the NBA Finals and in the offseason. There's going to be tons of great content. We have some great ideas over here that you guys are not going to want to miss out on. To make sure you don't miss out if you're on YouTube, hit that notification bell as well and help us take this channel to the next level. I'm excited for Game 1. Let's see how this series pans out. We'll see you tomorrow for another video.